welcome back to Small Town Music.
We're back!
After our very long summer extended into fall break because teaching.
Yeah, which is wonderful. We were like, you know what? It's summer. Like, y'all are on break. We're on break. Let's take a break. And now the craziness of fall has come upon us.
Yes, so today we're going to talk about how we teach musicianship while we're also dealing with the Halloween parade, the town festival parade, marching band events, choral festival, life, soccer games.
All the things to prepare for. Like, I'm simultaneously preparing for fall concerts and also like prepping for Christmas. And it's just kind of one thing after Veterans Day coming up, kind of trying to prepare for all of these concerts that happen immediately once we're in school.
Yeah, you know that scene in Parks and Rec when Anne is leaving? Spoiler alert. Sorry if you haven't seen it. The show's really old, so I'm not sorry. But Anne is leaving Pawnee, and so Leslie throws a party that's every single holiday for the whole year. That's kind of what I feel like right now, because we have Christmas music, Halloween music, Veterans Day music, and then random...
Holla Thanksmas?
Yeah, something like that. But there's a lot going on. So how do we teach our students music in addition to... Like, how do we teach them to be musicians in addition to teaching them these like 15 pieces we have to prepare?
When you just have to get the concert rep ready. Like, they got to learn the words. They got to sing the right notes or play the right notes.
Yeah.
And so how do you avoid just, in my case, like plunking out the notes
right
over and over and over
and just doing it by rote? So some things that I do is about once a week I try to do like a music theory lesson, like a dedicated, like, okay, we're going to sit down and do a written out worksheet and learn about how to write a major scale. And then throughout the week I'll try to relate back to that and remind them, okay, so if we were going to start on the note D, how do we make a D major scale? And go through that process. And not just do the worksheet and then move on and never talk about it again, because then that's not helping anyone, because then that's just like doing a worksheet for worksheet's sake. But that's one thing that I try really hard to do, is to kind of have this music theory curriculum in the background along with. Now, there are weeks that it just doesn't get done. Either I'm out for various things, or the kids are out for,
or who knows why.
ASVAB testing and picture retake and field trips and
random convocations. And who knows.
Program, yeah. So many things that like we all forgot about or like the fire drill happened. I don't know. So that's one thing that I do. And again, it doesn't always get done, but on the weeks that are pretty consistent, it's nice to have like 20 to 30 minutes of class time to just be like, you know what? No, we're going to learn this really important music theory concept so that we can be good musicians. So if you go to college and do any sort of music class, music major or not, you can get through it and you can do it.
I think in my choir, one development for me this year is that I have my high school choirs back during the school day this year, which has been fantastic. And so with them, one of my goals has been every day is just part of our warm-up, we're going to do a little bit of sight singing. And I love Kodai. I've done all my Kodai trainings, levels, and he has a like 330, I just call it the 333 exercises, something, but they're like one line sight singing exercises. And so I really try every day, just part of a warm up. I'm like, hey guys, get out your 333s and we'll do just a couple lines. And it doesn't take very long, but reading music is like learning how to read sentences, and you just need to do it. You just have to keep practicing and keeping that fresh in their heads. And I've already seen kids that had pretty much no musical experience before already make some pretty good strides here just in a couple months. So I do that, and then just as we're learning, if I'll pull out, I might say, hey, everybody, let's sight read the bass line here. I still have to teach some things by rote. Like in my high school choir, we're preparing for choral festival. We have SATB music, and I have 16 kids. So
you should explain what choral festival is for anyone that doesn't know.
Yeah, so we talked about this before. Yeah, it's kind of a gathering. We have 10 different schools that are all going to come together on October 4th, and we've all been practicing the same repertoire. We've got a great clinician coming in to work with them throughout the day, and then we'll do a concert that evening. And I love it because it gives them an opportunity to learn music that maybe we aren't ready to perform on our own, but those kids can still practice that and get the chance to perform that with a mass ensemble, which is going to be really exciting. But so we are practicing this music that is maybe above the level where some of them are right now. But like I said, we practice our sight singing every day, but then when I see a line that I think that we can sight read, I'll be like, hey, everybody, let's stop. Let's all look at the alto line right now. Everyone, okay, what's the starting pitch? All right, it's going to start on do. All right, here it is. Let's sight read this chunk, these, 4 measures of the alto line together. And so finding ways to do that. And then because I use solfege a lot and things like that, that's a language that they're developing that then I can say, oh, wait, guys, that's so do. Oh, okay. And then that automatically helps them. So just trying to work those things into my rehearsal. Just the other day in our elementary choir, they were learning a new song and they were kind of having trouble with a rhythm that was a dotted half note and then 4/16 at the end. And so I wrote it out for them and I was like, oh, so, watch this rhythm. We have the dotted half, which we don't see very often in elementary music, but I was like, this one gets 3 beats, and then, the 4/16 notes. I was like, we just learned this in 3rd grade music today, and so I was able to pull that back in, and they were like, oh yeah, Takatiki, and I'm like, okay, so let's all read this rhythm together, we Takatiki, and right away, Katie's teaching the 4th graders this year. One of the 4th graders raised her hand. She's like, oh, we're practicing that in our 4th grade music this week too. And I was like, it's like it's all connected.
Weird.
That was a really fun light bulb moment. That it's like, oh wow, this thing that we've been learning in our general music class,
it's important.
it connects with what we're doing in choir. And so if I were to put one big overall thing is that I just try really hard to work in those quick learning moments. So even if, I am still, at least 50% rote, then hopefully the other 50% can be, with sight reading and things like that. And I think you can always, even if they're having trouble, getting the notes down, getting all that, you can always work on, musicianship sorts of things like, okay, give me a crescendo here, give me...
Yeah, working in those terms and
working on
sprinkling.
Diction and, getting those things, like, it can be really clear. You can work on all of those other aspects, just in little pieces, I think. It doesn't have to be standalone lessons all the time. Whenever you maybe don't have time because you've got a concert coming up in 2 weeks and they've got to learn 4 new pieces of music.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also, definitely the warm-up thing, using that as a time to teach rhythms or reminder of note names or any other concepts that you've been doing, that's been really helpful for me. That I notice my groups, I guess I'm just really comfortable with reading rhythms, and so I don't teach it very much, so my students can't read rhythms. So we're working on that now. That, again, perk of a small town is that small town program that you teach the kids all the way through, and you get to see all of your flaws on display.
You get that feedback on your teaching, for sure.
So great. So, in a warm-up, I'll either, we use essential elements in band, but I think the other books have this too, or you can just create your own, rhythm sheets and pull it up. Okay, we're going to read rhythms 4 through 10. Okay, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 3, 1 and a 2, 3, or whatever it is that you're working on. Then, we count it, we look at it, we play it, we, clap and say it. We do all these things, and it takes 2 minutes, 2 or 3 minutes in warm up. Or any rhythm that's new or weird in your music. Pull that out of context and have everybody play it.
Right. Yeah, like if in yesterday's rehearsal they were really struggling with
That
this
dotted
interval,
quarter note is always
or
difficult.
yeah, or with that rhythm, then in tomorrow, then if that was yesterday's problem, then today's warm up, start with that and address it in your warm up, and then move on. I've really enjoyed. I'm in the community band that Katie's been working on, and even we do like lip benders, and using that, and it's not just, hey, let's play through this. It's we're going to use that opportunity to work on following the conductor, work on tempo changes.
Lip benders too. It's my favorite.
Work on crescendo, and really work those dynamics, and you can do a lot in a really short lip bender, and
in that 5 to 10 minute warm up time, you can get a lot of musicianship taught, and then when you take out your piece, even if you don't have time to sit down and comb through it for 45 minutes and really go in depth score study and do all these things that college taught us that we would do or should do. Weird, we don't do that. It's still here's it says maestoso. What does that mean? And you ask the kids, and some of them might know, but for the most part, especially your younger groups, they're not going to know. They're going to be like, well, I don't know. It's just a fancy word on the music sheet. Well, okay, but why? Why do we have, the composer wrote this down for a very specific reason, so let's figure out why. And so that's a great opportunity to be able to sprinkle that in. I think my kids do pretty well with vocabulary because I just ask them all the time, hey, what does vivace mean? What is this, the hairpin thing? What is this symbol? What does the letter F here mean?
We just had molto appassionato in one of our pieces. That was really fun. So now we all say molto appassionato. So they're learning Italian too. It's world languages.
Yeah.
Cross-curricular.
Any way we can get it done. Boo. I'm thinking, there he is. There's the cat. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you might be able to catch him.
He's coming and check us out. Oh, he smells my coffee. I should hold on to that. Yeah, you don't want that.
So, anyway, going back to topic here. And he's going to jump up. There he is. So, I think too, if I try really hard, in August, when my after school days aren't as full, literally the first week of school, when we haven't filled our calendars to the brim yet, that's a really good opportunity while you're catching up on sleep and trying to not die. And getting back into the teacher groove of waking up early and all those things. That's a really good time to stay after school just a little bit longer, or take them home, take the scores home. But look through any music that you want to play.
Smelly Cat really likes me. My allergies really don't like him.
He knows. He knows.
So he's drawn to me.
So yeah, taking that time to comb through scores or pick your music that you're going to want to do, because Christmas will come up faster than you think. By the way, if you're a new teacher and you haven't started at least picking out Christmas music, let alone practicing it, now's a really good time. October is the very latest that I would start practicing Christmas music, because you need about 6 to 8 weeks to really get that good. So, pro tip for all you newbies, but also, taking the time to comb through and pointing out this is going to be a rhythm that I know students are probably going to struggle with, or this is a melodic passage. I know I went to a session at Midwest Clinic a few years ago that talked about these warm-up lead sheets, essentially, that it had the melodies and these tricky passages written out for each instrument part. And then you handed that out and it became the warm-up, and then everybody got to play them. Mm-hmm. And then we got to figure them out together, and instead of I'm going to talk to the trumpets for 20 minutes in the middle of class, and everyone else is going to start a riot in the back of the classroom because they're bored and not paying, and as the teacher, you're paying attention to someone else, then you get to use that time a little more productively and help your tuba players learn rhythm too.
Yeah. That's just a good classroom management thing anyways. And I mean, I do that all the time. If I know that my class is just a little more squirrely than usual, I often will have them hum their own part while I'm rehearsing another. But if it's one that maybe like we're just learning, I know they're not going to do that. If I know that they're just a little more squirrely, I just say, well, like I said before, like, all right, everyone sing the bass part in your own octave. Like everyone sing the soprano part, because it's important to know what the other parts are doing, how they are moving. I think that's part of being an intelligent musician, that you aren't just blindly singing your own part, and it's how they're gonna get a better ear for being in tune, to know what everyone else is doing, and to know how their little part of the world fits in. And to point out, and as a choral director, one big difference between a choral score and a band score, which playing the community band has just kind of like highlighted that for me, is how, in the band, I only get my clarinet part.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happening during those 8 measures of rest. The music doesn't tell me at all.
And as much as you say, clarinets, listen to the other parts, they're not. That's not going to happen. They're not going to.
And so I think and I understand why you can't give every, band member a full score. I get it. Like I get but it's really nice whenever my choral members, like they see all of the other parts, including the instrumental parts. And so they can be listening they can see, okay, like sopranos and altos sing here, tenors and basses sing here. And then I can really draw attention. I can tell them, hey, tenors, you're having trouble finding that note. Look in your music. Who else? You're supposed to be singing a D. Who else is singing a D at that point in time? Oh, the basses are. They're singing a D, down the octave. Great. So in that point in time, listen for the basses. And so you can really use the score to your advantage there. So they can match what they're hearing around them to what they're seeing on the page.
I often will point out, like, if there's a melody around the band kind of thing, like I'll try to point out to the kids, like, hey, we're at, measure 17. Raise your hand if you have the melody. Okay, at measure 32, raise your hand if you have the melody. Like, is it the same melody or is it the different melody? Like, trumpets play at 17. Clarinets play at 32. Is that the same or different? Like, it's the same. Like, isn't that cool? Like, kind of making, situations where they have to point out and listen to the other members of the band and to figure out, like, okay, what's happening around me? What else are we doing around, my part?
Yeah. We do that kind of, it's really difficult if you say things like only sing when you have the melody.
Yeah.
If you have a piece that the melody jumps from part to part a lot, say, all right, you only sing when you have this melody. And it's really difficult to stop singing when when you hear that you don't have, when someone else is taking over the melody, when it's not you anymore.
Yeah. I think recording your ensembles as well, that's a really big deal, to make sure that, like, they hear other parts, or they hear themselves, and then they evaluate themselves. Because that's the thing, even as a director, like, I'm standing in front of them, listening to them every day, but when I actually, like, am not focusing on conducting and, why is Timmy running around the room, and why is Johnny chewing gum, and why is the doorbell going off because someone's trying to get into my classroom, like all these things that are distracting, or even just basic conducting is a very distracting thing. But pulling yourself away from that and just being able to listen objectively is a really important thing for you and for your students. Like, being able to listen to yourself as a musician and evaluate yourself. The kids are going to hate it, and they're going to complain about it, because they're like, I know, like, we sound terrible. I'm like, well, you don't, but...
Yeah. I always tell them they have to tell me a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
Like, they're not allowed to tell me a negative without telling me a positive first. So whenever we record, then it's always like, okay, tell me what you heard. You can tell me a positive and a negative, and they have to say the positive first before they're allowed to just start complaining, because they will. Like, they will be their worst critics and say that, even if the only positive is we all sang the right words. Hey, good job, kids. All right, cool. We all ended together.
Yeah, you
Good
did.
job.
And sometimes we don't do that. And it's
Right.
really great
Good
when
job.
we do. Like, that's important that we
Good
end
job.
together.
But it's important to them feeling successful, as musicians.
And it's developing their musician's ear. Like, if they can't hear when there's a problem, that's a way bigger problem than, oh, the trumpets always forget F sharp.
Right. And you realize, like, wait, out of all these negatives, no one mentioned the fact that...
This huge glaring problem.
No one mentioned the fact that everyone just sang melody the entire time. And no one sang their harmony parts.
Harmonies are important. All right.
So I think
those are some strategies that work for us in our job. Obviously, like, try them out. They may not work for you. They may work for you. I hope that they do. It's never one size fits all.
So let us know. Let us know in the comments, like, what's your fall look like? Do you have a crazy fall happening?
Or what have you done to help teach musicianship in your program when you have, all these required performances that you have to do? That would be awesome too. Let's share ideas. Because we still have never received an email from a listener. Email is smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail.com. I'll say that again, smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail.com. The first listener who sends us an email, we are going to send you a free Small Town Music t-shirt. So look out for that and send us an email. Tell us how we're doing. Either tell us we're great, that would be nice, or you can tell us, hey, get better microphones. Speaking of getting better equipment, we also have a Patreon. We are Small Town Music on Patreon. If you want to support us that way, we might also have things available to send our patrons on Patreon. I don't know. If you give us money, we might send you things. So we can also buy things like more microphones so that we have a microphone for each person. And maybe, like, I don't know, a place where the cat won't disturb every podcast. You can also find us on Instagram at is it small.townmusic?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, small.townmusic on Insta. We are on the TikTok. I've posted like 3 videos. I'm working on it. It's hard.
I'm just too old. I can't do it. My TikTok is just full of like teacher TikToks and like recipes. So I just can't. But I can Insta.
You can.
I can Insta.
You just don't want to.
I can
it's
Insta.
Fine.
You know what? I've hit my social media peak. I've hit the peak of like I don't think I can learn another one.
Who's the one that started the TikTok? Anyway, moving on. So yeah, email us. We'll send you a t-shirt. And we're also going to make t-shirts. Shout out to Nate, my road guy, who I know is a very faithful listener and is probably listening as he's driving to schools. So we appreciate you. So comment, like, subscribe, rate, email, TikTok.
Do you have any favorite things? We
our
little favorite thing.
So our favorite thing segment. I was thinking about that actually just a minute ago. I think. Oh my gosh, I can think of a million favorite things if you didn't just ask me.
So one of my favorite things right now, and this is totally, I don't know, dumb, whatever, but I found these t-shirts at Torrid that I really love, and they're just like, I don't know, they're like everyday t-shirt, and they're so soft and so comfortable, and I want to own them in every color, and they look really great with jeans or leggings or with dress pants and a cardigan for work whenever I don't want to wear something that is just going to be annoying all day while I have to conduct and act like a cartoon character with my elementary kids.
Yep. I think one of my favorite things that I've been doing is this kind of happened by accident, and it's not necessarily something that everyone can do, but we have an advisory time in the morning. It's 8:10 to 8:40, and they put me in a classroom in our middle school hallway because I'm technically, like, my band room is in the high school, so they moved me to the middle school. So it kind of forces me to get to school a little bit earlier to have my classroom ready so that when I have a class after advisory, our first hour class, so that's been really helpful that I'm not like walking in hot, like, ugh, like flailing around, like, oh, I didn't turn it, what am I doing today? So it forces me to like be prepared. So then during that advisory time, I can sit and like do my grading or email things out, and that's just a nice like, oh, I have to get to school earlier because I'm not in my classroom for this chunk of time, so I have to get this done sooner. So that's been helpful.
Yeah. It's worth it to just like take a little extra time, and as much as it's not fun to like be at work more, it's just a better start to your day. So if you're a 7:57 arrival for
maybe
the 8,
like 7:47
for the 8, like it's even like 7:37. Give yourself time to come in and put your bags down and
like get ready, get mentally ready. Email us smalltownmusicpodcast@gmail, Instagram small.townmusic, TikTok smalltownmusic, Patreon smalltownmusic, YouTube,
all the things.
Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, all the things. Okay, thank you.